How's it going, guys? Welcome back for another video. Today, we are discussing the Garcia tone chase, going through the affordability lens. While we're talking about it, and while you're here, please do hit the subscribe button. I actually can see some traction afoot, and the last video was really fun to make. The process itself is great, and the feedback has been wonderful. The algorithm likes the subscriptions, it likes the likes, so you know what to do. Thanks very much. So let's talk about today's sound. I'm running my trusty old Blues Junior that was my very first guitar amplifier. My parents bought it for me when I was 22 and had just moved back home in the for Christmas of, I guess, 2002. Is that right? Yeah. Anyway. I've had this thing for a long time. I can't speak for the condition of the tubes or whatever. It's completely unmolested. And just yesterday, I put a JBL D120 that I had in it. And I have to tell you, I'm shocked by the results. It sounds fantastic. For a lot of us, I think Jerry in a Box is something that we've all been looking for. And I'm disappointed I didn't try this years ago because the results are exceed my expectations. Frankly, that was what you just heard here at the beginning of the show. You know, the signal chain is my Vantage guitar, which I've talked about before. The lineage of how that came to me, and you know, the DiMarzio pickups. It's got a spud buffer in it, and I'm running it through the pedal board. It's going out to the amp. Like I said, bone stock, other than the JBL D120. It's a reconed D120F. Doing a little research, it appears that on Reverb today, right now, a Fender Blues Junior 1x12 amplifier can be had between $450 and $500 used. DiMarzio Super 2s are on there for $65. The spud buffer currently listed at $100. I'm going to take a second here and plug our good friends at the Jerry Tone store. If you haven't, the link is in the description. Those dudes are fantastic. Great chops, great knowledge, way more than me. Go check them out and support them, please, with their business. That takes us down to the question of the speakers, right? The secret is certainly out about JBLs. There's a trifecta of tone chasers that are after these things. There's us, deadheads. Stevie Ray Vaughan used them for a little while. That crowd is devoted, I will tell you, and obsessive, just as we are. And so they like a JBL speaker too. And one other guy, Dwayne Allman, had at least 1, 2, maybe JBLs in his Marshall slantbacks. Closed back cabinets. That's the sound that you hear on the Fillmore East live canonical record from them. The research, the reading that I've done, and my understanding is it's not fully JBL loaded. I think there's Celestians and it's a mix. But yeah, he liked those speakers. Zappa used them. They were kind of ubiquitous in the 1970s. It's really the sound of rock and roll in a lot of ways. Eddie Van Halen used them. If you're curious about the history of JBLs, I'm going to point you to the Ask Zach video that came out a couple weeks ago. That dude is fantastic, first of all. His videos are great, and he dives deep on all things Telecaster and country music, and he did a video about his experience with putting some JBLs in his deluxe reverbs. And yeah, it sounds great. So that's the JBL discussion. Except for the all-important price. I'm into this D120 north of $300. When I make cabinets, typically I source vintage speakers for my clients. And, you know, this was one that I just had laying around. So, excuse me, I put it in. When I moved to this smaller space, the rolling chair I'm sitting in, I backed up and I put a giant ding in the dust cap, which was totally mint. So I kind of committed massive guitar tone party foul is what I'm trying to spit out with that maneuver. So it seemed like a perfect candidate to be loaded into a combo amp. It doesn't affect the sound. You'd never know it was dinged. And it was my own stupidity, rolling the chair back and hit the microphone stand and punched a dent right where you don't want one. At any rate, so yeah, that's the story with that speaker. You know, there are JBLs to be had right now for $200. That's on the low side. You can spend more than that. Personally, I don't think reconed speakers, I don't think it matters. I think there's a contingency of cork sniffers that will tell you otherwise. To my ears, I can't tell if it's reconed or not. They're all a little different. They spec out a little differently. That's something to keep in mind. And then honestly, the main thing to remember with all of this stuff is when you're in the band room, when you're in, your Dead cover band, or when Jerry was in the actual Grateful Dead, when, the drummers are playing and, the sound is really happening, you really can't tell. I mean, you want the JBL sound, but coned, reconed, indistinguishable. So there's something else to talk about in the new market. Weber speakers. I've loaded the Weber Michigans into my cabinets before. 12-inch, 8 ohm. They have the aluminum dust cap. Aesthetically, they look great. And once again, the sound is there. It's not an apples to apples comparison. You'll notice a difference between a vintage JBL and a Weber, but it's minimal. And I just did some quick reading. They're $144 at Weber.com. So, amp, speaker, we're kind of talking about $700. It's really not too bad. A new deluxe reverb is way more than that. A new twin is way more than that. That will cover your amplification needs. Now, so the guitar question, again, we've talked about my Vantage. I traded for it. It's the establishing the actual value of this instrument is not super straightforward. However, I didn't want to insult everybody's intelligence and really do this like on the super duper cheap and borrow somebody's Squire and have it not sound awesome. So I'm using this guitar. It has a brass nut, it has the brass stop piece and the harmonica bridge. These things aren't unobtainium, but every little bit does add up. For this exercise, again, I looked at the Vantages on Reverb, or rather on Google. There's none currently listed on Reverb, but they're in the $500 to $700 range. And when you factor in, the mods, if you can do it yourself, great. You're looking at like $200. So kind of, I don't know, $900, $1,000 plus a $700 amplifier, and you're sort of all the way there. It doesn't include the pedals. There's a lot to talk about with the pedals. I think a lot of people, myself included, went down the pedal rabbit hole first because it's sort of a quick fix to something. Buy a Mutron, buy a Qtron Plus, and then you can quack a lot. But to me, the really exciting thing is the clean sound. That's the most satisfying thing. My own story, where it came from with me, goes back to seeing Dark Star Orchestra in Dallas in 2004. I was aware of, everybody says they're great. The lights went out. They came on stage. They played a show from the 80s, and it blew my mind. Hearing John Kay strum the chords, the sound that you had been missing all of a sudden was happening in a kinetic way. It was the bass is thumping your chest. It's tickling your eardrums. And it was there. And it was a remarkable thing. And so I wanted a little slice of that for me at my house. And, I was fortunate enough to be able to achieve it. The point of this video is that sort of like in Ratatouille, anybody can cook, Anybody can do this. It's a list of recipes. It's sort of what you do with it. It is a little of the in the fingers thing. But these things are not unobtainium. And being super dogmatic about what kind of tubes, what kind of amplifier, this, that, and the other thing, a Fender amp, a cleanish amp with a JBL speaker or a JBL clone and a high-powered pickup in the middle position, Garcia. That's the main thing. That's the message I want to kind of get across, that the sound is there and it's there to be made, and it is a wonderful thing. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I would love to hear from everybody. If you have a Blues Junior that you've been using for years and love it, let me know. If you're excited about this and you end up doing it, let me know. It's great. It's great to connect with people. And I really hope you get something out of this, some utility out of this this message. So yeah, thanks a million for watching, and we'll see you again real soon. It's great to talk to you guys. Bye bye.